Hey, fight fans, welcome back to Carl Prusa MMA. Today, I am with one of my favorite guests. He's been on here a bunch. He's about to make his UFC debut. They call him the Punisher. Ladies and gentlemen, it is the undefeated UFC middleweight, Mr. Torrez, Finney. Torrez, what's going on, brother? I hear you're down in Orlando right now.
That's right, baby. I'm in the Florida. Yes, sir. What's going on, Carlo, man? I'm happy to be here. Always happy to be on your show, man. Like I said, love for me to you, brother. And yeah, currently in Florida, part of during the training camp. And yeah, we're ready to go, man. I'm ready for the debut. Let's do it.
Absolutely, man. It's kind of crazy now. We've been talking. The first time I saw you fight was Icon in Savannah, Georgia, August of 2022. Obviously, from there to now, a lot of fights, a lot of big things. Got yourself in a position where you almost got 50,000 followers on Instagram, really becoming a name in the sport, and really one of the top prospects right now in mixed martial arts. You get to take on a tough guy, Robert Valentine, coming up, a guy who made a name for himself on The Ultimate Fighter, a guy who is a fan favorite. Was it just a no-brainer when you got pitched with him?
Yeah, I really love the matchup. Yeah, man, and plus you're right. He has a name behind him as well. And I feel like it's full circle. I feel like this fight is a part of the storyline. I feel like this fight is going to be a part of the storyline for Torrez Finney. Because if anybody knows, anybody that's been following me understands the background behind the Ultimate Fighter. Me not getting selected for that, let alone obviously me not getting selected the first two times on the Contender Series. But yeah, I was selected to be on the Ultimate Fighter at the beginning of the year last year. And funny enough, at this time around last year, I was preparing myself. I was putting myself in a training camp to prepare for the Ultimate Fighter. I was just recovering off an injury with my pec, and we was jumping right into camp, got into shape, getting prepared for that. And as time was going on, man, it was, oh man, the Ultimate Fighter's here. Here we go. Left off, trained for the entire week. Going through the interview, going through the notions that they have, and man, during that week, the head producer comes up. He's like, "We're just going a different route. You didn't get selected." And it wasn't just me. Obviously some other ones, but me, Yusuf Zalal, as we're seeing what he's doing currently in the UFC. He was also one of the ones that didn't get selected. So I definitely felt like it turned out to be the best for us. Obviously you see Robert Valentine's pathway, and obviously you see my pathway. So we was going to either meet in the finale of the Ultimate Fighter, or we are going to meet eventually in the UFC, and it looks like we're meeting in my debut.
It's kind of funny. If anyone has watched the Dana White's Contender Series over the past 2 years, odds are they know who you are because you only fought him there like 3 times. Now, obviously, after the last one, pick a very impressive finish over Della Ramey right in front of Dana White, getting the contract. There's no doubt that time. We're months removed from that. Has it finally set in that you're in the UFC now?
Yes, it has. I definitely know I'm on that level. Obviously have an opportunity to compete against guys that's amongst the best in the world. And yes, it has settled in that I'm in the UFC. But I told people beforehand that I felt like I was already in the UFC. Let alone, going along on the trips with Trevor, training with those guys as well. And then also, like, when you go to the UFC Apex that many times and fight inside that cage, people got to remember, all MMA fighters want to fight inside the UFC Apex, just a UFC cage just for one. But for me to be blessed to have the opportunity to do it not once, not twice, but 3 times, it feels like you're already in UFC when you go through that many routes. So, yes, it has definitely settled in, and I just knew it was only a matter of time.
You've had some people out there who maybe criticized you in the past. You haven't fought the high-level skill. They may not have the records, all this stuff. Do you know what the combined record of your 3, at the time you fought them, do you know what the combined records were of your 3 opponents on the Contender?
I know Yuri was 6-0, Cam was 8-2, and Adela was 7-1. So
that comes out to 21-3.
Wow.
Obviously, a pretty impressive feat yourself. Fighting those guys are their top prospects, guys that I'm sure some of them will probably be in the UFC one day. Did that even cement to yourself when you finished 2 of them, you dominated the other one? Does that just cement to yourself, hey, you can fight anybody in this sport, you can fight anybody in the world?
Yes, I think that furthermore like solidifies me. I know a lot of people like to say that, oh, well, Finney had to fight 3 times on the Contender Series. Yeah, you're right. And if anything, those 3 times on the Contender Series is almost no different than me fighting on LFA, Fury, because there's pressure on each fight. And you gotta look at me. There's more pressure on each time I'm on there. So there was pressure on every fight. And those guys came in there with a chip on it. Everybody goes in there with a chip on their shoulder because it's a contender series. But even more, they know they just have to beat me because I've been on there more than anybody. And if they just beat me in front of Dana White, they're gonna for sure get an opportunity. So I'm fighting a hungry dog along with having a chip on my shoulder. And I just think, going into fights like that, I think that helps me. And I will tell anybody, those 3 fights, during those times, yes, man, this sucks. This is awful. Why is it me going through this? But in hindsight, I thank God that I went through that. I thank God that I went through all 3 of those fights because career actually could have turned out differently had I got the contract on the first one. It built up mental toughness. It built up physical toughness. I became better through this entire process, an entire year to get better. That viral knockout that happened at Combat Night that you were blessed that you was there. It's like those type of things don't happen had I got the contract in my first fight. So, that all of this stuff was meant to happen for a reason, and I am so thankful for it. And it's going to culminate up to April 5th for my UFC debut on the reason why. Man, that was really good that Finney did go the path that he went, and he's now going to be even more ready for that first debut.
You've generated a lot of popularity. You're a fan favorite, and I think it's your personality. You're one of the nicest guys in the world. You're always a happy, funny type of dude. They see the dancing that you did for Dana in the last fight. What has the reactions been like on social media? Is it now tough to keep up with all the messages? Are you getting recognized in public? Or are you really just trying to feel it?
Yeah, I definitely get a lot of messages on social media, man. Like DMs are always popping. And yes, I definitely get recognized a good little bit here and there, throughout. And it is pretty wild for a guy that don't even have many UFC fights to get recognized in just different places. Like I'll be at the airport sometimes and like, hey man, you're Torrez Finney. So that's pretty cool. And I don't know, man. It's just like I say this all the time. This is just the kid in me living. This is just the kid that was 8 years old, 7 years old on that trampoline, wrestling with all his cousins. This is me living that as an adult, and I get a chance to really do that live in front of the world. Every time I step out there and into that cage, and I'm just blessed and thankful to have the opportunity to be able to do that. And yeah, man, it's pretty cool. It is. It's a blessing.
How satisfying was it for you to go back to Macon, celebrate with your hometown, your people following that victory on the Contender?
That was awesome, man, because, there's so much more to that because I went back to Macon. Obviously, the UFC brought the camera crew to come there and follow me going back home. But also, to just have the opportunity to be back in Macon, the same place where I won the state championship, the same place where I had my pro debut. All the people that came out just supported me. Those people that supported me since the jump, and just to have them, to really show love back to them. And Jones County as well, homegrown Jones County, Macon and Jones County, man. That's my heart, that's my love. So to go back, man, I just loved all those guys and people that have supported me through and through.
It's kind of cool now when you're looking at Georgia mixed martial arts. For a while, there wasn't too many guys in Georgia. Obviously, Forrest Griffin from Augusta back in the day. You got 2 of you guys now really doing big things. Obviously, yourself and Malcolm Wellmaker, both making your debuts about 3 weeks apart. Both guys, obviously, friends with both you guys, talk all the time. You guys have been friends from the beginning of this journey, obviously meeting at Icon, I believe, years ago, and now, staying in touch. What is it like to be able to have a friend like that, also be able to go on this journey with him?
Yeah, man, I love Malcolm, man. I've always told him I got to come down there and go get some training sessions in with him. I love all those guys down there. Quincy, Joel Fagler, I know all those boys. So it's really cool that their gym is really skyrocketing as well because a lot of those guys are now turning over to become pros. And yeah, they're gonna have some guys coming up as well. But Malcolm, man, it's special. He's the lit. He's the fire. He's the one that kicked it off. And I'm excited for him. His debut coming up in Kansas City, Missouri. So that's going to be really awesome to go and see. Man, I know it's going to be so special for him and his family. People be able to go out there and see him fight. Malcolm, an exciting prospect, and what's surprising, crazy enough, I know a lot of people always think I'm older. But when you look at Malcolm, you think he's young. You think Malcolm's like 23, 24. But he's 30, and it's crazy. And I'm like, oh, you're older than me. But Malcolm is such a young heart. I mean, I'm excited for the brother. So yeah.
No, so you've trained all over the world. You've trained in Tennessee. You've trained at Extreme Couture. You've trained in Colorado. Right now, you're doing some training at Fusion XL, a gym that you've cross-trained a lot through the years. Obviously, when you look at that gym, we talked a little bit before the interview, but I think it's really starting to become one of the bigger gyms in mixed martial arts. There's so many guys in there. You know, you have Philly Fresh leading the way over there. You got Adolfo Vieira. You got Mike Davis, you know, you got Terrence McKinney, Charles Johnson, we go on for this forever and ever. Julian Williams, I think one of the best coaches in mixed martial arts. How do you enjoy training with those guys, and how has it been progressing your game?
Yes, man, it has been an absolute joy to train with those guys, you know, and that's one of the things is to be able to come to a gym like that and have that many pieces. Like you said, you just named off a plethora of UFC guys, let alone other guys that are just as highly talented in that gym. And it's been great because I came down here originally to, you know, help out Rodolfo a little bit for his camp coming out next week against he's getting ready to fight Andre Petrosky. And that's awesome. You know, I'm glad to be a helping hand for him. And then boom, I get my call. I'm like, whoop, I'm already in the fight mode already, trying to help him out. So let's turn it on around for myself. So it's been really good. You know, I'm gonna do a good part of my camp here. And, you know, I'm still with my coach, Matt Harris. You know, Matt has been a huge vital part of me because I tell people this all the time. Matt has shown me so much from the start, and being able to be with him and like go through these journeys has been awesome. Because when I go and cross train at these places, they're like, man, where you learn this from? You know, obviously athletic skills, wrestling, and things of that nature. But Matt's with the grappling and the jiu-jitsu and the things that he's taught me over time has been so beneficial. So yeah, Matt's still my MMA coach, but I do train a lot more, and we'll be going forth a lot more here at Fusion XL.
Does it trip you out a little bit that gym is in the middle of a shopping mall?
Yeah, you wouldn't think you would walk in and see Lyoto Machida in here, you know, because Machida was there today. You know, he's been the past few weeks and this past week, and you think you would just walk in and see him and Adolfo Vieira and Firo. And I remember the first time I came to Fusion was in March of 2022. It was right after my pro debut. I come in and I walk in, me and one of the guys, Luke Wilson, he's one of the guys from my old gym, and we come in, we're walking. We had just done a little job with him. And I'm in there, and we're just like, hey, man, you know, this is Finney. And I meet Julian for the first time. You know, this is right after one of the classes just got done. I meet Julian for the first time. I see Mike Perry right there, Phil Rowe right there talking. And they just chopping it up. Then I see Jacare just walk in. What's going on? You know, just talk. And everybody just, you're like, it's crazy right here in the mall. We got all these legends in here. So it's pretty cool. It's wild, but it's real cool. I like it.
You know, you talked about a little bit ago your wrestling. Obviously, you did very big things in wrestling, won a bunch of state championships. You actually sold out the place, the Macon Coliseum. And I think the thing that's pretty cool, we always talk about professional wrestling, so we're going to tie WWE in here. One guy that you shared the state championship with, Mr. Braun Breaker. What was that?
That's right, baby. Dude, so I won the state championship. I won it back-to-back years, but my senior year I won at 195. The next weight class, now he's the classification higher, but the next weight class was Bronson Rickstein. And I have a vivid memory of Bronson Ricksteiner. That brother, that's his senior year, ran shop. We went to like 3 or 4 tournaments where they were there as well. And I'll never forget, he had wrestled the 222. It was a two-time. He was a 2-time state champion. He wrestled him in a regular tournament. He put that brother in a spladle. I ain't never seen a guy that big get put in a spladle in my life. Everybody was like, whoa, what is that? Like, he looked like a mini Brock Lesnar. No, not mini. Like a Brock Lesnar in high school. It was crazy. And he won the state championship, beating a guy that was going to Ohio State. He beat him in the state championship. And you got to remember, Bronson chose the football route. So he went to Kennesaw State, was phenomenal there. My cousin played at Kennesaw. I know a lot of people that was at Kennesaw. My strength conditioning coach. He was at Kennesaw. He knows it was about Bronson Ricksteiner. He was like, man, that guy was just on another level of straight. Obviously, you see what he did in college, had a phenomenal college career. Then goes to the NFL, plays for the Ravens for like a year, maybe, I think a year or two. And then he's like, oh, I'm done with football. Let me go to the WWE. And now look at him. Bronson, dude, he's a beast, man. He's a beast.
You know, when you look at the landscape in WWE right now, obviously you have the big stars, the Cody Rhodeses, the CM Punks, the Roman Reigns. But obviously, you know, age is a real thing. These guys can't wrestle forever. So when you start looking at maybe who's that next guy in the future, is that Braun Breaker?
The next guy, I definitely think is Braun Breaker. Braun, look, bro, he just had one of the most powerful moments in the Royal Rumble when he speared Speed. Let me tell you something. The way he bounced it off those ropes, bro. See, y'all gotta remember, he's an athlete. I'm not saying other guys in the WWE is an athlete because there's obviously some other. But like he has that Brock Lesnar intangibles about him. Like the way he bounced off that rope back and forth when he gets ready to set up his spear. His spear, I mean, I remember when there was in Batista's prime, Batista used to have a really, really vicious spear. Goldberg and WCW had a vicious spear. But, bro, Braun Breaker's spear, bro, the way, obviously he speared Speed, but the way he speared Roman Reigns in Royal Rumble, bro, his spear is on a whole nother level right now. Like, he breaking folks in half. Like, I feel like they're going to have, like, somebody's going to have a broken rib soon. There's no way you can take that, like, the speed that he's coming off those ropes. Man, please. Dude, what? Good Lord. Y'all can have it.
You know, we talked about it before. If you wanted to go to WrestleMania, that was one of the things on your good bucket list. That was one of the things on your agenda. You going this year?
That is the absolute goal. Let me tell you something. The month of April is a great month for me because, one, my fight is on April 5th. My sister's birthday is on April 6th. So after that, the following week, you have, what's the April 12th? I'm supposed to be thinking. Oh, April 12th. You have UFC in Miami. I'm going to try to get tickets and I'm going to try to go to that card. You know, this is the week after my fight. So usually the week after my fight, a little bit of a like setback, you know, reset, vacation type thing. I said, I'm just going to Miami. I'm going to UFC 315, something like 314, something.
Yeah,
yes. And then after that, boom, I'm going to turn around and come right back to Vegas and go to WrestleMania. I cannot miss John Cena. I don't know what they're going to do. So, look, my goal, hopefully, one of my goals is to try to, like, get with the UFC. Like, hey, man, TKO, y'all help a brother out with some tickets. But if not, no problem. I'll try to get one of the days, whatever day it is. I can't figure out which day because at first I thought he was going to win the Raw. So he's going to be on day 2. Then he didn't win the Royal Rumble. So I don't know what they're going to do. I got to figure out what day he's going to be wrestling. I feel like if they're not main eventing him for the title on day 2, then it's going to be at least day 1. So I just got to find out whatever day it is. And heck, if I'm able to get both tickets to both, then so be it. But yeah, that's the goal.
You know, over the years in WWE, you've seen some crossovers. Like Floyd Mayweather, he did something with the Big Show. They did like a boxing match or a fight back in the day. You had Big Show even did a sumo wrestling match. I don't know if you remember that, like 15, 20 years ago. He took on a sumo wrestler. Obviously, you're a big fan of mixed martial arts. You're a big fan of WWE. You have a wrestling background. We talked about a guy in Braun Breaker having a wrestling background as well. You ever consider maybe one day, depending on how your popularity goes here, potentially collabing with Braun or something in WWE?
1,000%. 1,000%. Yes, I would absolutely, positively do it. I literally would go to the WWE and perform myself. Yes, I would. That would be, bro. You talking about, so you know, I'm already just sitting here talking about the kid in me, obviously get a chance to live out his dream. That's the ultimate dream. Like, before it was football for me, before I was like, my goal was to obviously make it to the NFL. It was always the WWE. There was nothing else. I just always wanted to be a professional wrestler. And now, you know, with obviously the collaboration with the UFC and the WWE, there's actually a chance, and and plus with first round management, they're obviously managing certain guys that's in the professional wrestling business as well. So it's like, man, like, don't play with me. Don't play with me, boy. Do not play with me, bro. Dude, I legit would go after that. I legit would. I feel like I have the wherewithal and everything that comes along with it to be able to go out there and perform, man. I really do.
5 years ago, if someone told you you were going to be in this position right now in your life and your career, what would you have you told them?
That would have been hard. I would have told him you're crazy, because no way in my life did I ever think I'd be a fighter, let alone be fighting in the UFC in this time span. So like at the beginning of maybe. Well, I started boxing at the beginning of at the end of 2019, and I had my first ever boxing match. It was ugly, but I lost my decision. And I just had that mindset. I said, I'm going to do this. I said, I did boxing because eventually I want to do MMA. I said, that's my goal. My goal is to do MMA. And, some people in the family, some of my friends, a lot of people, they didn't think I should have done it. They didn't think I should do MMA. They didn't believe in the vision at the time. And that's okay. I tell people, when you have a vision for something, it's okay even if the people close to you don't always see eye to eye on. The reason why is because God didn't give them that vision. They gave that vision to you. So remember, whatever your vision is, that vision is meant for you. It's not meant for everybody. It's not meant for them to see the vision while everything is like in dirt, while everything is in the progress. It's meant for them to see the vision at the end. And obviously, I'm not even close to the end. We're still at the beginning. This is the debut. And now this is a part of the vision. Now, obviously, the vision has opened up. A lot more people see, oh man, this is what he meant. Yes, this is exactly what I meant. I knew I could make it this far. I knew I was good enough. I used to tell people, like, I would watch the wrestling, in the UFC. I would watch how some of it would be. It's like, man, you could call me a couch potato and be like, oh, he's sitting on the couch just talking. Well, I got off the couch and actually went out and did. I did. I would watch it and I'm like, the wrestling just don't look that good. And I was told one time, like, bro, they're wrestling pretty good. You got to do, and I understood jiu-jitsu. I didn't understand jiu-jitsu, but I understand you had to know jiu-jitsu and other things. But I used to sit there and be like, I just don't think it's all that good. I really don't. And for me to literally, get up and actually go and do it, I always thought that I definitely had the skill sets to be able to come to the UFC and be able to show that I really belong.
Yeah, I think one of the coolest stories ever is you got done with the wrestling match. An army or military recruiter came up to you and was like, MMA. And you're like, what, MMA? I'm going to go play football in college. Little they know, now you're making your UFC debut. You've had quite the journey, being on the Contender 3 times. You have trained with some of the best in the world. Some of the best fighters in the world. Had great experiences, made great relationships through this journey. Is there a point that has been the most surreal for you? Like, at what point did that inner Torrez Finney kid freak out the most over this journey so far?
Man, I don't. That's a really good question. I don't think it has happened fully yet. I feel like it's just slowly coming out. The kid, and you just making that kid smile and making that kid smile. But it ain't fully came out yet. Because right now I am on that grind. I'm on that like straight ahead pathway where I'm not looking back. And I get told sometimes, to enjoy the moment you're currently in, enjoy what's around you, because whether you go forward or whether you go back, you'll never be in that same moment ever again. So I get told a lot, enjoy the things that you've accomplished. And sometimes it's hard for me to do that in that process. Sometimes it's hard for me to just enjoy it because I'm always, what's next? And that's just how I've always been. I'm not a guy that's hard for me to settle. And that's why I feel like that kid in me has yet to have that excitement. But I will say, winning that third Contender Series fight was one of that close moments to it, because it was finishing the story. We talked about the story right here on this show, and I was like, that was the finishing of a chapter. I said, regardless of what happens, this will end the chapter for Torrez, Finney, and the Dana White Contender Series. And I felt like that was one of those stories that you'll remember a part of somebody's career. Like whenever Cody Rhodes retired, we're going to remember the story he had with The Rock. When Cena obviously retired, we're going to remember his stories with The Rock, or his stories with Edge, and his stories with all these different Randy Orton, Undertaker stories with Kane and Shawn Michaels and Triple H. You know, everybody has their stories with that synonymous person. And I feel like with mine, you know, I feel like I've already have a staple in my career where Torrez, Finney, and the Dana White Contender Series is synonymous, you know. So I feel like I had that part of my story for my career, and now we get on to the next parts and other achievements we get a chance to accomplish.
You know, I think one of the funniest things ever is if you post a picture, if anything is posted on your physique, if you look at the comments, I mean, you're going to find crazy, some wild stuff on there. You know, some people may be questioning if your physique is natural. You know,
Yeah.
irony here, your last opponent got in a little bit of trouble after the fight. You're probably drug tested all the time. I mean, have you lost count of how many drug tests you've had to take through this?
Dude,
time?
I haven't even had my debut yet. I've been drug tested 4 times already. So, you know, like, so that shows you in itself, like, oh, they already coming after me. And they say, if you're winning, that means they're going to be drug testing you. So that's a good thing. So if you're not winning, they don't care. They'll just let you go by the wayside. But it was crazy to see that, you know, he was on, you know, some performance enhancement things, and actually it was something that increases testosterone, which helps, obviously, anabolic steroids to help with his strength. And, you know, obviously, personally, you know, I don't think it mattered too much in the fight as it's shown, but, you know, it don't surprise me sometimes, you know, when people always try to utilize, like, oh man, Finney's on steroids. But this is just me working hard. Anybody that's known me since I've been in high school, they know like how hard I work and how hard I train, regardless of whether it was before the UFC, football, wrestling. I just always wanted to be in shape, you know, great physique. You know, it's part of it is genetics, but that's just a part of how I am. And yeah, there's not gonna be no shortcuts. Hey, I don't even take vitamins. I don't like taking protein shakes. I don't like taking none of that stuff. The best thing I do is drink a smoothie. You know, it's like I don't like taking nothing. I've always been that way. Heck, sometimes I get in trouble by my granddad. You need to take your vitamins. I'm like, I don't want to take nothing. I just never been a guy to take anything. So, you know, as long as I can keep my body healthy and keep it fit, that's the route we're going to continue to go.
You know, there's so many people who are watching this in this day and age. I mean, mixed martial arts has reached a stage that I never thought it would. I mean, it's so mainstream. It's rivaling professional sports. Almost everyone knows what the UFC is now. Now you have a term called the casual fans. This sometimes wants to make me pull my hair out here. These are the people, they're usually drunk. They're at B-dubs. They're in the cheap seats of the fight. They like to yell, twist them in the you-know-what, your crotch, your crotch pumping. They have the craziest takes in the world. They DM guys, I could beat you. All this crazy stuff. How do you take this phenomenon? Is this just something where, you know, it's good for the sport, people are buying tickets, they're supporting you guys, but it's also like, what the heck's going on sometimes?
Well, it's no different than when you have casual fans for NFL, NBA. You know, people. So I'm big into sports, and I'm big into like analytics, and I'm big into like how I'm big about watching press conferences. I like watching inside scoops about behind the scenes. I'm big into all of that stuff, because I was an athlete similar to those same positions. Obviously not to the scale of those guys, but in that same position. When casual fans just start blaming out, oh, I ain't do this. All he have to do is do this. All he have to do is that. Bro, I can't tell you how many messages I got. And even some people that were within the city of Chattanooga would tell me, Dana White looking for a knockout. You go out there, you go for bro, you throw this, you throw that. Everybody's trying to show me a punch. Everybody's trying to show me how to throw a kick, and just trying to do all types of stuff. I'm getting messages, you need to do this, you need to do that. And my response was to all of them, I'm going to go out there and just take them down and beat them up. And they all look at me like, what? Are you crazy? I said, because I'm going to always be me. If I go out there and be me, be somebody else, and I lose, that will hurt me more than me going out there being me and losing. Because the problem is, if you beat me at my best, props, so be it. But if you beat me and I didn't even get a chance to showcase the best me version out there, then that's going to eat at me, because it's going to be, what could you have done? And that's that type of stuff that you live on for the rest of your life. man, I could have done this. Man, I could have done. I wish I had done this. And I don't want to ever live like that. I never want to live saying, I wish I could have done this, this, and this. No, I'm going to go out there and just be me. And yes, I have shown that I can do it on the feet. If that fight requires that, then I'm going to go in there and do it for that fight. I've shown I can do it on the ground. Different fights calls for different things. And that's just the way all fights are. And when fans, casual fans are out there, just screaming and bucking and yelling, let them do whatever. But I live by Floyd Mayweather's, granted, I'm not the biggest fan of Floyd, but I live by this saying. He was like, legacy don't pay the bills. Gotta get the wins, baby. So, let people think about whatever, because at the end, I'm educated enough now in MMA. I learned a lot about George St. Pierre. At the time, I've heard a lot about people. Man, they used to say George St. Pierre was boring. He's awful. It was awful to watch. But now when you hear about, oh man, George St. Pierre, he's the greatest. Man, I love George St. Pierre. He was my favorite. You never hear anybody ever talk about how he was at that time. Similar to Habib. Now, Habib, because a little bit more in the social media era, people are about a little bit 50-50-ish. But a lot of people, oh man, Habib, 29, oh, look at him, man. Habib, he's the man. He'll destroy anybody. Like the plane incident. Oh, he'll run through everybody on the plane. And not saying he wouldn't, because he would. But I'm saying, if anybody knew his style, he would have to take down a lot of people on that plane. So that's just the funny thing about it with me. When the casual fans get into it, I can only pay them so much attention. I definitely respect them because they will do what makes the sport grow. But in terms of opinion and output, input on things, nah, I just let it go on and out the other.
In 2024, you produced, I think, one of the top knockouts. That knockout down at Combat Night was one of the craziest knockouts I've ever seen in my life. And I think one of the craziest knockouts anybody has seen. You also produced, I think, one of the funniest memes in the world. I don't know if you've seen it, where you've knocked the dude out and he's playing the piano. That thing blew up on the internet. What was your reaction like when you first saw that?
Man, I did take a laugh at that. But now, personally, so I saw that. But never once, if anybody remember, never once did I ever repost it. Personally, for me, I understand the sport that we're in. And yes, as easily as that happened to Tyson, that easily could happen to me. And I just don't like making fun of people, obviously with them getting hurt in different things. Like, yes, I know it's a part of my job. And look, boom, I post a knockout, obviously, because it's a highlight for me. But to post it to, obviously for, people amusement, making jokes out of it, things of that nature. I saw it. Yeah, it did bring a smile on my face. I'm not gonna lie to nobody, but I didn't repost it because, that's just not me. That's not, I'm not fully behind stuff like that, because I think a lot of people forget how much hard work and effort goes into training for these fights. So when people see, oh man, he got his head knocked off, man, he going to sleep. And, everybody making the memes, everybody making the jokes, and heck, like I'm sure he probably made some jokes himself, but that's just not me necessarily. I'll post it for the highlight purposes and things, but never for the amusement of me or anybody else's.
All right, let's get into the fight, taking on Robert Valentine back at the Apex place. Very, very well. April 5th. Overall, what do you think of him as an opponent?
Robert Valentine, he's a tough guy, man. He's a really tough opponent. He's 10-4. He has an extensive record. Obviously he had a great showing on the Ultimate Fighter, going against Paddy McCrory and Giannis Bakar. He obviously beat Giannis Bakar with an elbow in like 18 seconds, and then he beat Paddy in the first round with a it's like an armbar, a modified Americana-esque type submission. But he looked really good, and obviously he looked pretty good in that Loader fight up until like his injury he had, I think, going and towards the end of the first. But he's a tough guy. I've watched all his fights. He's a tough guy. He's a tough guy. He's gonna come fight. He's bring it to you. He does give me vibes of like Yuri Prohaska. Little certain vibes. I watched a little bit of his episode stuff and talk how he talks about like the gods and shedding blood to the gods and all of that stuff. So it's interesting for sure. But none of that stuff gets to me. I'm excited for the matchup, and I'm excited to compete.
You get a fight in the Apex in this situation, obviously a smaller cage. Do you think that goes in your favor with maybe closing the distance, potentially taking them down?
Yes, that definitely does. I definitely think the cage definitely plays into my favor. Being able to close that distance, get close. Obviously, for anything strikes, anything going towards, changing my levels, but keeping him keeping him guessing the entire time, and making sure that he has to respect anything that I'm throwing at him, and gotta be mindful of his length. Now he's got 77-inch reach, but I got a 76, so we're right there together. I think a lot of that thing is going to throw him off just a little bit, but I just feel like I have the full skill sets to be able to go out here and take him out. And then also, look, I've been training here at Fusion XL, and I'm seeing some of the best guys in the world. And I've been getting a lot of credit from these guys. I'm learning a lot of things from these guys, and because of that, I think I'm going to grow. You're going to see a lot more improved Torrez Finney going into this fight, and I'm pretty pumped to showcase it to the world. I feel like you're going to just see a snippet, though. You're not going to. We're going to try to show as much as needed, not as much as possible, but as much as needed. And whatever that is shown, I think you're going to be. The whole world is going to be excited. They're going to be like, man, we got a new dog in this race now for the middleweight division.
I saw once Abe Kawa was saying that for guys, fight nights are kind of the fights they want to be on, especially these Apex cards. Obviously, it doesn't really matter if you're fight 1, if you're fight 12 on a fight night. Your chance of possibly getting a bonus, fight of the night, submission of the night go way up. Do you like that?
Yes, dude. If I have got, bro, you talking about a month of April, that would be lit. If I got a $50,000 bonus, look, during that month, we're for sure going to WrestleMania, and I'm taking folks with me. but we sure would be smart with money. But we ain't splurging like that. But WrestleMania will for sure be on the list. Yeah, man, that would be really awesome to go out there and obviously be able to get a bonus. And yeah, man, that's the type of performance I'm looking to go out there and put on. Be able to make money along the way, but go out there and put on a good enough performance to obviously get the bonus. So, yeah, man, that's one of those things we're working hard for. We're not working hard just to go in there just to get the win. We're going to get the win emphatically.
I know you share this viewpoint, but you finally made it here. Took you a while, took you going through some adversity. Do you feel right now is when the journey actually begins, when you can start making your climb, working on your first contract, get yourself to position maybe next year, end of the year, where you're in that top 15 range?
Yes, I do. I just saw Charlotte Bullet in the span of 3 fights. He was already in the rankings. Bo Nichols only had 4 fights. He's already in the rankings. Who say I can't do the same? I feel like I'm getting that type of hype behind myself a little bit. I just got to continue to add more to it when I go out here and fight. But I'm seeing it every single time. I'm seeing all these guys get ranked, and I look at it personally, and I look and I'm like, I can be on that level. I'm good enough to be on that level. And I'm seeing these guys as they grow, and I'm like, I'm good enough. I'm good enough. And I just have to continue to develop. I'm 26 years old. We got, people keep saying, oh, you're young. You got a lot of time. I don't look at it necessarily that way, because just as fast 4 years has went by, 4.5 years has went by for me. And now I'm making my UFC debut just as fast as it can be 4 years again, and I'm 30. So I saw how much I've accomplished in this time span from, amateur to pro. I've had 15 total fights, MMA fights, 5 AME, 10 pro, in the span of 4 years. And that's been awesome. That's been awesome. And to see that I just continue to grow in that time span. I haven't been an amateur long. I've seen guys be amateur at least 2-3 years. I was only an amateur for a year, then turned pro the next year. And then I've only been a pro for 2022, 23, 24 for 3 years. So in my just 3 years of pro, technically should have been 2 years of pro, but in 3 years of pro, I've made it to the UFC. So, yeah, man, I want to spend majority of my career, as they say, in the UFC, majority of my professional career in the UFC. So doing that would be really awesome. And now we get a chance to really show the world I'm coming.
The sport has evolved and changed so much over the past 15, 20 years. At one point, it was called human cockfighting. It wasn't legal in every state. It was on, Spike TV at the time. Now it's on ESPN. And you're really starting to see guys show that personality. Entertainment is something that's enriched in mixed martial arts right now. For you personally, You don't have to put on a front. You don't have to put on a facade. You don't have to play a character. You are that character. You are you have a natural personality. You're funny. You're a naturally likable guy. Do you feel like that is going to help you bring success in this world?
Yes, I really do. I think that's going to help you bring success. I think it's going to help you bring success outside. I think a lot of people have to remember, you only fight so many times inside the cage, but they can see you a lot of times outside. And, to be very productive outside of the cage, utilizing the platform the UFC has given you, and I'm going to definitely do my best to do that, and I have to just rack up wins. I have to start getting inside the UFC cage and actually doing that part to be able to really emphasize more on like being able to utilize that platform. But I just think it just takes time, and yeah, April 5th will be the start of it. And I think hopefully, hope and pray we have a really good fight and come out victorious.
Another area that we're seeing in mixed martial arts right now is the business side of things. When you look at this from 20 years ago to now, it's very much business focused in all elements. For example, who are you going to fight? Who are you going to fight on the regional scene? How can they help you get to the top? What are you going to post on social media? Who are you going to partner with? Who do you want to do interviews with? There's so many things to consider. Since you've been on this journey, obviously first round management, some of the greatest fighters in the world in the UFC. Are you starting to see that this is a business as well?
Yes, this is absolutely a business. You better not come into this thinking that this is a, you just fighting, man. Like I said, I've been blessed to be here with Phil Rowe, and I've learned a lot from Phil. He's taught me a lot of things, inside and out, but behind the business. Learned some things from Rodolfo, Julian, a lot of the guys that's here in the UFC, Terrence McKinney. This is a business, man. This is a business. So you have to make it work for you at all times. And you can make relationships, but remember, at the end of the day, it's still a business. So yes, that's one of those things I've learned pretty quickly. And I'm definitely going to be utilizing those type of things and knowledge to my benefits as I continue to grow in this game. But this is definitely a business.
All right, Torrez, last question, my friend. In a perfect world, what is the outcome when you take on Robert Valentine when you make your UFC debut April 5th?
Well, everybody that knows me knows that I never make predictions, but there's one thing that I will guarantee. My hand will be raised at the end of the night, and I will definitely grab that mic, and everyone will smell what Torrez is cooking. I guarantee you that.
Torrez, my friend, man, it's awesome every time we catch up, brother. It's awesome to see that you're making your UFC debut. You deserve it, man. You've been through a lot the past couple years. You always kept your smile on your face, bro, and you keep pushing. You're a great example to, I think, anybody who wants to become a professional fighter, and guys who are.
Thank you very much, brother.
Awesome. Well, that's it for us tonight. That is the Punisher, Torrez Finney. I'm Carl Bruza. Torrez, close it out.
Oh, you want me to close it out?
I want you to close it out. You know what's coming.
Oh, if you smell what Torrez is cooking. Boom.
Take care, fight fans.